And I think people need to start waking up to that and realize that the people in power that you seem to respect, a lot of them are more tied into this than you would expect. Like even somebody, I'm going to make people upset, but Trump, one of his best buddies was Roy Cohn, who was all tied into fucking, sex trafficking networks of his own. So like that's a whole other rabbit hole that we didn't even go into.
Listen,
so
me up, dog.
I mean,
here's the thing, guys. I got that right now. Roy Cohn he came up in Kincora. He's one of the biggest pieces of shit of all time, and I can't believe that anybody respects or continues to have conversations with Roger Stone. Get the fuck out of here. You know, Roger Stone, he was compromising people with sexual blackmail.
All you need to know is physiognomy there, dog.
Yeah, 100%, man. It blows my mind, honestly, but, you know.
No, it's like super sad. It's super sad. Really, and like, if at this point you're not a political nihilist and politically atheist, like if there's things you like, let's say Thomas Massey moves to abolish the Federal Reserve, right? I like that. Okay, I'm going to cheer that on. But guess what? If Trump sends all this money to Israel, I'm going to scream and shout how much this is bullshit. And you all giving me shit on the internet right now because I don't trust the fact that this guy's going to try to... They're going to get you, dude. This is how they get you. They get you to be okay with them violating someone's constitutional rights for things you don't like pro-Palestinian protests on campus, which are most likely funded by Israel or Zionists to call us crazy. But you're like, he said illegal. Dude. How many times have we seen everything we've talked about so far in this show for the last hour is about how they basically have agent provocateurs in everything.
100%, man. Yeah, and that's what I find so interesting about, that connection to Roy Cohn, because especially with Kincora, because he sexually abused a man by the name of Richard Kerr, and this is a fact. Like honestly, so anytime you go back and you see Trump saying, "Where's my Roy Cohn?" It hits a little bit differently.
Does he say that really?
100%. Yeah, Roy Cohn was a political hatchet man, basically, and he was running, this human compromise operation. And
he got his start too with the communist thing too. Just trying to just he was known for his loyalty to the anti-communist movement, with the
Gladio, what we've been talking about this entire time. Literally, he got busted for this, and he said, Austin might know the quote better, but something along the lines of it was to stop communism, so it's okay. His sexual trafficking network, that was what the context was here. Oh, it's okay because communism.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he said. Let me pull it up. It's Roger Stone and Roy Cohn.
The worst kind of people.
It's one of the most ridiculous things because basically, keep in mind
if we don't fuck your kids, the commies will.
Jeez. It's
my God,
so
man.
insane, dude.
Did you guys watch The Apprentice? Did you watch the film? Not the TV show, the film.
Really.
Okay, because it goes deep. No. It goes pretty deep into Roy Cohn. It's fascinating. It kind of shows you. It avoids any of the underage stuff, but it shows you what a deviant he was and how Trump was kind of put off by that possibly. But it's a fascinating origin story for Trump. I recommend you guys, because you go deep on this, you'll appreciate it. I think
dude, I would love to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Check it out.
I'll look into it right away because it was former NYPD detective and ex-head of the department's human trafficking and vice-related crimes division. His name's James Rothstein, right? And this guy told John DeCamp, who's a former Nebraska state senator who investigated, of course, the Franklin scandal, the government-connected child sex ring based in Omaha, Nebraska. And among other investigators, that Cohn had admitted to being part of a sexual blackmail operation targeting politicians with child prostitutes during a sit-down interview with the former detective. Rothstein told DeCamp following about Roy Cohn. Cohn's job was to run the little boys. Say you had an admiral, a general, a congressman who did not want to go along with the program. Cohn's job was to set them up. Then they would go along.
Oh my God!
Cohn told me that himself, says Detective James Rothstein. So Rothstein later told Paul David Collins, a former journalist turned researcher, that Roy Cohn had also identified this sexual blackmail operation as being part of the anti-communist crusade of the time. Gladio, man. I mean, the fact that Cohn Per Rothstein's recollection, stated that the child sex blackmail ring was part of the government-sponsored anti-communist crusade, suggests that elements of the government, including Hoover's FBI, may have been connected at a much broader level than Hoover's own personal involvement, as the FBI closely coordinated with McCarthy and Cohn for much of the Red Scare. And I believe McCarthy was brought down by this very network, which I found interesting. I'm not defending McCarthy. I'm just saying it's very interesting.
Why? He was right about a lot of shit. That's the whole thing. Like, if there's anyone who deserves an apology, it's McCarthy, who was like, the Red Scare's everywhere. You're like, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
let me give you this one quote real quick.
He missed it. He was whiffed on.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
He what? Hold on, sorry.
No, there were things he whiffed on too, for sure.
But he was right about like these fucking Marxists coming in here everywhere.
He's a shady fuck, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
I did want to tell you guys this one quote because I think it's perfect for what we're talking about right now. And because Austin just mentioned John DeCamp. Now, this is William Colby saying this to John DeCamp. He says, what you have to understand, John, is that sometimes there are forces and events too big, too powerful, with so much at stake for other peoples or institutions that you cannot do anything about them, no matter how evil or wrong they are, and no matter how dedicated or sincere you are, or how much evidence you have. This is simply one of the hard facts of life that you have to face. Now, this is William Colby, the former CIA director, CERCLA member, and Opus Dei sympathizer.
Exactly.
So, which, if you pay attention to Opus Dei and these entities, they run roughshod through all of this shit. So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
and keep in mind how the breaking news that just recently happened regarding Seth Rich's records being withheld by the DOJ.
So crazy,
dude. My first thought was, okay, yeah, the cover-up is in place, very well established as far as Pizzagate is concerned.
Oh, I guess
the
Israel was involved.
Network, the child abuse trafficking network in DC will be protected once more. That's how they operate, man. So it's again, like, people don't comprehend the fact that Podesta, he definitely would be in any sort of unredacted files regarding Epstein, right? And so I'm under the impression, and keep in mind, we just mentioned Roy Cohn, right? Now, according to a lot of like One Nation Under Blackmail, Whitney Webb's book, I mean, it's very much a possibility that potentially Epstein's network, it was potentially passed off and was actually Roy Cohn's network passed off to Wexner and Epstein.
Both of them have mega group connections, right? So it looks like it's like one and the same. Yeah.
Shit.
100%. And so that rings true for me personally, no doubt in my mind. And that would make sense, especially considering, the Epstein files, we're going to put all of these compromised assets who were legitimately compromised by the very network that we're now going to put in charge of the transparency and disclosure for that very network. So all the compromised Epstein assets are now in place to perform the false transparency operation to kind of drive. In my opinion, it's a huge misdirection tactic, but also it just like par for the course, right? Like, what do they say?
The fix is in when a dude with a lisp worse than mine that sucked off a tranny and wrote an article about it is the one disseminating information to you.
Hold on.
And he's sitting over there priming
off
us.
A tranny?
Cernovich, go look it up. The dude literally wrote an article about sucking off a tranny back in the day.
Yeah.